Hey everyone, it's Alex from Metal Master Kingdom. Welcome to another episode of Virtual Chats. And today on the show, I had the great pleasure of being joined by Jason Bold, drummer of Bullet For My Valentine. So, Jace, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, man. How are you?
Good, good. So, first off, thanks
Hmm.
so much for joining me. Real great to have you on here.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah, we're just totally psyched at the moment. We've got our album coming out on November the 5th. We've got a UK tour coming up, and I would say that we are nervous and excited
Yeah,
pre-album release.
yeah, for sure. So my first question would be like, how are things going over in the UK with the current situation?
It's okay, I think we're trying to get back to normal. Everyone's almost forcing normal life to resume, which is good. I think we should do that. But it's still nuts, that we're touring in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah,
It's great. I'm happy to be doing it. I can't quite believe we're going to be going on tour soon. I'm super excited, but yeah, it's getting better. I feel really positive about stuff, but I'm kind of expecting a few bumps in the road over the next year with touring. There's going to be stuff happening, but you just got to be positive, and keep
yeah.
your eye on playing live. That's what it's all about for us.
Yeah. Speaking of playing live, you guys recently just did your first show in like 2 years at the Pilot Download at
Yeah.
Donington. Like, talk about that return to the stage after that long.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's quite nuts, really. The thing is, we practiced for a good week beforehand, so it didn't take us long at all to get back into our old shoes of, playing the songs, and then before you know it, we're about to go on stage in the UK on Donington, and I have to say, it did feel natural. It was bizarre. I expected to feel more nervous, and I don't know. It was weird. It did feel like the most normal thing ever. And that's probably not what people were expecting to hear.
Yeah.
But I think on the day, a lot of the crew were very more emotional than the bands,
Right.
because the crew have got this kind of sisterhood, brotherhood thing going on where the world's a small place when you're in the band. You can be at a festival in Brazil and bump into someone who's from your town who's working for another band.
Yep.
And I think, well, for the whole industry, that's what we all miss, The music
Yeah.
industry is a small world, and for people to be reconnected with that is quite overwhelming.
Yep.
Because none of us, we all had moments where we were like, are we actually ever going to do this again?
Yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think the worst part of the whole pandemic was January this year, where we had a really dark winter. COVID cases were high.
Oh yeah.
And, I know for me, I went through a dark period of deep introspection. It's like, oh my God, am I going to play live again? Is
Yep.
this ever going to get back to normal? But
Yep.
to be honest with you, I think it's a bit like when you wake up in the middle of the night and all your thoughts, you might be worrying about something, and life seems at its worst in the middle of the night. And I think, thankfully, the night's passed now in the pandemic.
Yep.
The long, dark night was the winter, and I think we've got through that now. And yeah,
Yeah.
onwards and upwards.
It was the same kind of thing over here early in the year.
Yeah,
Like back in the winter, like cases were just like skyrocketing, all that back into lockdown. Oh man, it's something that we just don't really want to think about anymore. So
yeah, yeah. It's horrible. It dealt us all a low psychological blow, didn't it? I think being locked down, and yeah,
yeah, for sure.
we don't want to go there again.
Going back to the thing that you were talking about, the playing live feeling natural when you got back to it, despite some differences in there. But back in the summer, I went to go see a show, which is the first show I went to in like a year and a half. It was a small place, but I was expecting like for it to feel like so different, but it didn't really feel that much different from watching. The only thing that was different was that given that this is like when everything started easing up a little bit and like concerts were allowed again, the only thing that was different was that everybody was sitting down, like at a metal show. Like there was like a couple of death metal bands playing, and everyone was sitting down. Like nobody,
Oh no.
you could not mosh. Photographers were not allowed to go up at the stage. So everyone
Yeah.
sit down. If you sat down, you could not wear a mask, but if you were walking, you had to mask up. So
That doesn't work, does it? You know, when you've got the rules. I mean, that shows the spirit of rock. You can't suppress it. It just doesn't work.
yep,
With it's all about being free, isn't it? Music, and if you're
exactly. Yeah.
told to do this and you can't do that,
Yeah. I mean, I'm
it
seeing
just
like in other areas, like in the States, even over in the UK, from videos that I've seen, people are like, moshing like there nothing happened, but up here, can't do it. I'm like, what's going on?
that's nuts. Is that still the case?
Still the case, unfortunately. Like, we'll see if stuff starts to ease up a little more and general admission standing is going to be allowed in the next like few weeks or months or in the new year, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You might be able to stand up at a show soon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So, as we're talking about the exciting news right now is that the new Bullet album is coming out next month. I had the chance to hear the whole thing, and all I can say is that the fans are definitely going to lose their minds for sure. Given the whole COVID situation last year and this year, how is the writing process for this one going?
I think it worked in our favor. If there was a positive to be had from the lockdown, then it was the fact that we could get our heads down and write an album with zero pressure.
Yep.
Kind of tells you that sentence how a long established band works. You know, there's always pressure to come up with something different on each album that you're not going to bore the fans with or alienate them with. And I know for Matt, it worked really well for him. He got on a real good roll and wrote 4 songs on the go within 2 weeks during lockdown because he works best without all that pressure. He's the front guy. He's going to get all the attention off the record companies. Hey, when can we hear a song? And obviously, the great thing was no one could come to the studio because they weren't allowed. So it was brilliant.
Yep.
And well, I use that word cautiously, obviously, because there's nothing brilliant about a lockdown. But we started writing the album back in 2019. Knives was one of the first songs we wrote, and that kind of set the sound. Really, we all wanted to go heavy. We all wanted to write something really aggressive, um, and the lockdown thing and the way things turned out made us more angry, especially Matt with lyrics and stuff. You can take creative inspiration from a lot of things. And wow, what better thing to take inspiration from for an angry album than
Yeah.
COVID and the pandemic?
I was actually literally just gonna ask that. Like, did you think like maybe the whole frustration with the pandemic like bled into like the heaviness overall of the album? Like, did it maybe was that like inspiration for it?
I think so, yeah. I think the whole thing with lockdown is because you're kind of in that period of introspection, you then allow yourself to be who you are. And there's something very honest about the Bullet album. It's like a byproduct of how the band really is. You
Yep.
know, honest, angry, got energy, and subconsciously all the stuff going on.
Now, going back to the album, given that it's a more intense album, drum wise, which song would you say was the most challenging?
Oh, it's a tough question, because they've all got their questions. Questions. Oh my God, what am I talking about? That's a drummer's brain talking right there. They've all got their challenges. Um, Parasite, fastest ever Bullet song.
Hmm.
That was a challenge. Not so much playing fast, but when you're recording a song, it's being consistent and making it sound like a performance. So when I drum in the studio, I want the drum performances, recordings to be like I'm playing them live.
Yep.
So that means I have to practice a lot. And because I want the maximum conviction, the power there, I don't want to record a song in chunks.
Yep.
A lot of bands do that nowadays, and I understand it if you're writing in the studio. But for me, it's a big moment of pride. It's like a lot of work on parts and everything going into an album that's going to show the world your standard as a musician.
Yep.
And also, I think if you're laying down your parts in the studio as a performance, it inspires everyone in the room, like Matt, the producer, and then everyone raises their game and
Yep.
puts more energy in. And it's not just about a personal pride. Thousand Cuts is brutal. That's one of my favorite songs. Really fast double kick.
Yep.
And then you've got My Reverie is an interesting composition. So there's quite a lot of changes in that song. It goes from like a 6/8 feel to a 4/4 feel,
Yep.
and it's trying to get that feel right with conviction.
Yeah.
Rainbow Veins, the last song was the last song we wrote actually.
Mm.
I think in February this year we finished writing that. And again, that's got challenges of a different sort. There's a lot of varied drumming in there that's quite artistic. It's not just a straightforward metal song, you know.
Yep.
Knives as well is very active. So
Mm.
it's a drummer's dream, really, the album.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's like, cool, I can add more things to my drum kit. So I've got
Exactly.
like five extra cymbals now. And
Nice. Yeah.
if you're a guitarist, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely share the same feeling because I'm a drummer myself as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
when it
Great.
comes to like composing it and all that, like I'm pretty much the same way. Like the feels are different. Going from different time signatures and all that can feel different. So that all comes with the challenges and all that. But I think like once you get in the comfort zone, like it should be no sweat. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's nice that we've been able to write an album that's so brutal, but have different directions within that brutal sphere, if you
yeah,
like. So I
yeah,
think it sets up a whole new different directions of sounds we could explore as well.
yeah, for sure. Like definitely, I would say one of my favorite songs right now from just a musical standpoint is "Can't Escape the Waves." That one
Okay, yeah, yeah.
in particular, the chorus in particular in that one. I was listening to it yesterday, and listening to that chorus, I got chills. Like vocally, I think that's probably my favorite chorus on the album. It just like has
Ah,
arena kind of vibe to it. It's so huge. So
thank you. Well, that was one of the songs that Matt wrote when he was deep in lockdown.
mhm.
So it's come out pure. It's quite an unusual song because it
Yeah.
changes a lot, and it's difficult to make a song like that flow with so many different changes. But that is a very unusual track for Bullet. It's definitely put us in a different area of darkness without wanting to sound all Halloween about it.
Right.
But it does sound, very dark song for Bullet, but almost cinematic in a way.
Yep. I also really love Paralyzed as well because that opening riff is just like, thrash attack all the way. Like and that's what I'm all about. Like I'm a big thrash guy. So
Oh, cool.
that it had a bit like a testament kind of vibe for, one of my
Yeah,
favorite bands and all that. So
I think I see that song as like old Bullet brought forward in a way. Jamie came up with the vocal melody for the chorus, and
nice.
the middle part of the song is probably one of the most brutal moments on the whole album, I think.
Yep.
But no, it's great. I mean, you're a thrasher, and the fact that you love the album, say it's heavy, is great because there are four or five thrashers on the album.
Yeah, for sure.
Fast double kick, it doesn't let up really.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'm curious to know something in regards to you joining Bullet. You
Hmm.
were initially filling in for Moose a few years back, but
Yeah.
with the more shows that you did, I felt that it kind of became evident that you were going to become the new drummer, because I saw that scenario happen with a ton of bands. So where they get a fill in for supposed to be for a little bit, but then the more shows they do, he eventually becomes the new guy. From your perspective, as you kept touring with the band, did you have that moment where you thought like, I've been touring quite a bit with the band. Like, I think there's a chance I might be asked to officially join the band. Did you get that feeling?
I have to be totally honest and say I didn't because they remained 100% loyal to Moose throughout the whole process. You know, I didn't know if I mean, it started with the European tour in November, I think it was 2015.
Yes or what?
And then it was like, do you want to come to America in January? It was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then it was Moose's wife had a baby, I think, in April. So there was time out for that. And then I took it on a tour by tour basis. But I didn't, when we were done at the end of 2016, as far as I was concerned, that was it. It's like own separate ways, and nothing was spoken about
Yeah.
really until you know at some point in 2017. So it was like I didn't have an idea at all.
Because I did in 2017, the first show you guys did of that year was here in Toronto as a warm up for one of the festivals that you were doing. And I was speaking to Matt earlier in the day that day, and he said you were there as well. So I'm like, awesome. So
Yeah, yeah.
that,
It all just there's a lot of stuff that's happened behind the scenes that
yeah,
will never come out through dignity, really,
yeah,
and a lot of stuff that people don't need to hear. But
yeah,
we are where we are, and I'm just grateful to be taken in by the Bullet fans.
yep,
I actually first played with Bullet back in 2010
yep.
on the arena tour, and I never forget the first gig.
It
I
was at
looked
Wembley
down.
Arena in London, right?
Yeah, it was. And I saw these two kids, and I had a hat on at the time, and they looked up and they said, "That's not the drummer. That's not the drummer." And I just got my head down and thought, "Look, I'm here to fill in. I'm playing. I'm just, trying to make the band move forward." And that was that. But
So they
so
they
it's
didn't say anything ahead of time, like, "Oh, Moose is not going to be with us for this show." Yeah, they kind of like called you and say, "Can you come fill in?"
yeah, it was literally very short notice for 5 shows, and luckily I managed to get my stuff together and fill in and play those gigs, and
Hmm.
help the band move forward. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe the band wouldn't have been able to play the shows. But
Yep,
it's yeah, the show must go on, basically.
exactly. I take it that with you and Matt focusing on Bullet, AxeWound is done.
Wow, you know what? We love AxeWound. I'd love nothing more than to do another AxeWound album. I'd say that
Yeah.
hand on heart.
Hmm.
It's just time. As soon as you start the wheels moving on a new album cycle. Like now, I'm doing interviews most nights, like with yourself, and then we start rehearsing for the tour, and then before you know it, we're on tour for 2 years.
Yeah.
And any time we get in between that, we have to remind our wives and kids that they have a dad.
Yeah.
So it's just tough, really tough finding the time, because also it's doing it justice. The first album was special because we didn't know. We just got in a room, me and Matt, and we just literally jammed for 2 weeks and came up with the whole album 2 weeks and recorded everything
Yeah.
apart from the vocals
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. And there's something special about capturing those moments where you're not overthinking stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just pure instinct that comes out. You're not trying to be anything other than what you are and what you love. So I love the fact that it's just an honest little time capsule of heaviness.
Yeah. Yeah. The record you guys put out, Vultures, it's actually been quite a while since I heard anything from that album. So, but given that when I was told that I was going to be chatting with you, immediately it made me like go back and revisit that record a little bit. I'm like, wow, this
Ah,
this,
great.
this takes me back because I was
Yeah.
I was just finishing up my last year of college when that record came out. So it took me
Oh,
right
wow.
back there. So, and
That's amazing.
a lot of those songs like still hold up today. So good
Oh,
stuff.
thank you. Well, I referenced, the snare sound on that for this album. I wanted the same type of aggression. It's a totally different sound, but I wanted us to keep an eye on, look, this album still sounds really brutal.
Yeah.
It really does. And the guy that produced it and mixed it, well, he mixed it, Machine.
Machine. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just nailed it, absolutely nailed it. And he used to mix and produce Pitch Shifter, a band I was in many years ago.
Mhm.
So it was just great to have him on board to do that because I knew him as well, and I knew he'd do a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So, last question, and then I'll let you go. So,
No
as far,
worries.
as far as touring goes, you guys have the UK and European tours coming up. Can we expect to see you guys back here in Canada in the new year?
I really hope so, man. I mean, it's such a special place for us, Canada, and I don't feel like we've been there enough.
Hmm.
The odd thing is, we'll do like we visit America 3 times on a cycle and just do like a couple of Canadian shows here and there.
Hmm.
And I really think, and I was talking to Matt about this, that we should do like a mini Canadian tour because it's a hotspot for us.
Yeah.
We've always got great festival billings there, and
Yeah.
I really want to exploit it
Yeah.
on this
Sure.
next cycle. So we'll definitely be there for sure, Alex.
Sure. I can definitely attest to the fact that Canada's like a hotspot for you guys, because I remember I've only seen Bullet 3 times live. The most recent time was when the only time I saw the band with you in it, and
Okay.
I can remember being in that crowd. Like I was up at the front, and I'm like looking around it, and that crowd was nuts. Like I'm pretty sure you may, I don't know if you remember that, but they were just like going, like I remember before you guys came on, they were playing Ace of Spades on the PA,
Okay.
and the crowd was already moshing to that.
Yeah.
Like it,
I do remember that. I do remember that. Now you've said that.
nice.
It's the festival we did. There was I think it was by a huge lake as well.
Montebello.
Yes, Montebello. I've never been as drunk in my life as
Oh,
at
really?
that festival. But obviously, after the festival, our manager turned up, and it was like, yeah, I don't even drink really, and he got all these shots on the table,
Yeah, yeah.
and I've never been so ill in my life as after that gig, so I'll never forget it.
Awesome, man. So all the Canadian promoters out there, if you're watching this interview, get on it. Like get Bullet over to like the West Coast and all that. If you're watching.
Do it, but no shots.
Yep. No shots. All right, Jace. Well, that's all I got for you. So I just want to say again, thank you for chatting. I had a blast chatting with you. I wish you all the best
Likewise.
with the record and the tours coming up, and hopefully we will see you guys over here in the new year. I'd love to see you guys again.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's been great talking to you too, man. You take
Awesome,
care now.
awesome, man. Take care.
Take it
See
easy.
you.
Bye.
Bye.